What if I told you that there hasn't been a new salt mine in North America in over 30 years, and that the world's premier undeveloped salt deposit is currently trading at a value of less than 15% of its current $909 million net present value? Well, that deposit is owned by Atlas Salt, and that's exactly why they just brought on Rick LaBelle as their new CEO, whose illustrious career has centered around high-profile mergers and acquisitions and unlocking shareholder value in the resource sector through a multitude of avenues. To hear more on their new CEO and this exciting road ahead for Atlas Salt, I'd like to welcome Rick LaBelle and President Rowland Howe. Gentlemen, welcome.
Hi, Brandon.
Thank you, Brandon. Thanks for the introduction.
Absolutely, and thank you for being here and giving us this time. It's the first time we are getting the both of you on recording at the same time. It's been a long road searching for you, Rick, and I've got to say, as an investor, after looking at what you've done in your career, I am fascinated by this edition. Rowland, you and your team have found an amazing gentleman here, and before we start getting into a lot of the other parts of our discussion today, I just want to talk about why this is such a truly pivotal moment for Atlas Salt and its shareholders. And I'd like to begin by asking yourself, Rick, first, what interests you the most in the CEO position with Atlas Salt?
The deposit, the mineral deposit, is absolutely world class. It is it's unique. It's in a great jurisdiction. For instance, without drilling any more holes, we already have 30 years of reserves. Now just imagine and people don't realize how important that is. A typical underground mine has 5, 7, 10 years of reserves. This is 30 years, and we actually stopped the drilling because we don't need any more to build a case to build a very profitable mine. So I want to be part of that. It's a legacy. It's a legacy that is generational, and it's again, I'll use the word unique because this is what is painted all over this project. It is unique to build a generational, long-term operating mine, and I want to be part of that.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I'd love to hear that as well. And, Rowland, having you on this discussion as well, there's an interesting aspect of having you on because we can ask that exact same question, but in reverse. What was it about Rick that stood out from all the other candidates that your team looked through that made you realize he was the right person for the job?
We've reached a point here that we need to move forward. We need to go into the next phase of this, beyond planning and get into construction. And all credit to Patrick Larissy took us to this point. But we need different qualities. We need different characteristics in our CEO. And somebody once said to me, what got us here won't get us there. And that's absolutely true. Rick will get us there. He has the experience, and his resume ticks all the boxes of what we're looking for, both in mine building and investor relations and, financial work that he's done with some of the companies he's been with in the past. He's had a very successful career, and we're just absolutely so glad he's decided to join us. And this is going to do it. This is going to get us into the next phase and get us into developing what, like Rick says, it's a generational opportunity. There hasn't been a new salt mine in North America for over 25 years, and most of them are over 60 years old. So, that's like Rick says, these last forever, for a long, long time. And this is our opportunity to set one up in a way that they've never been set up before. There's new techniques, new methodologies, new equipment. So we want to design this mine to be generational, the safest mine around, most productive, and the lowest cost.
Exactly, and well said. We're going to talk a lot more about that in just a moment as well. But Rick, as someone who's made their career on high-profile M&As and operational turnarounds such as Dumas Mining, which became a Goliath in mine design and mine building in Canada, why do you believe the Great Atlantic deposit is such an attractive asset? We've talked about why it's attracted to you here as the CEO, but the asset itself, what really catches your eye?
As I said before, world-class size. The salt grade is exceptional. It's amongst the best in the industry. And cost-wise, it is right at a deep sea port, for lack of a better term. There's a short conveyor run to a deep sea port, a port in Newfoundland. So the way I look at this is not only will we be able to produce an awful lot of salt, way more than 2.5 million tons a year, but we should be able to command a higher price in the market. And that's sort of my background. And the reason for that is security of supply. And I'm sure you're aware of this, but even as the PEA stipulates 2.5 million tons, demand is outstripping supply. Even at Atlas Salt producing 2.5 million tons, that's only about one sixth of what is coming in from overseas, from Africa and South America. And I believe North American consumers will want to pay more for a high quality product that has the highest security of supply. So the timing is remarkable. It's great to be a new entrant when demand is outstripping supply, and that will continue in the foreseeable future. And our competitors have older mines. The timing is, I'm going to use the word unique because the whole opportunity is unique. The timing is impeccable.
And I think, Rick, as well, the supply chain is a huge opportunity, but road salt is a safety issue. It's something that municipalities and states need to keep winter roads safe. So to have a secure supply and a short supply chain for something as critical as road salt, it's going to be very appealing. And I think Rick's right. It'll probably command a premium in time.
Yeah, I like that point too, because I know SLR, they have to do their job of looking at different prices. They have to make sure that what they have, they can put their stamp approval around the numbers that they use. And it seems like they were using some of the numbers that maybe you see overseas as opposed to domestically. And just like you were saying there, if I got this right, Rick, is that you believe throughout your expertise and having that domestic supply and what you just said there, Rowland, and being able to secure it at home and very quickly, that can command a higher price, which could then obviously create this much more valuable asset, even from what the PEA or FS may be stating.
That's correct. That's 100% correct. And you said a good point. SLR did an extensive study. They did a very, very good study, in my opinion. But security of supply is hard to factor in. Only people that are in industry understand that people are willing to pay more for a product they cannot do without, to ensure that they can get it on time. And this is the road that we're on, if you don't mind my pun. So.
No, that's totally fine. Well, Speaking about the road, I've got a question that I know is heavily on investors' minds right now. What is that road? What is the near-term plan for Atlas Salt? Rick, you're a well-accomplished strategist. What is the most effective way to drive shareholder value, perhaps leading to an M&A opportunity? I have the sense you want to show that Atlas is serious about putting Great Atlantic into production.
Yeah. We could be here for days formulating different strategies and debating back and forth, and everybody has an idea on how to create shareholder value. But I actually don't believe it's reasonable that the shareholders will maximize their value without building a mine. That's just, it's not logical. So a mine needs to be built. It needs to be built on time, on budget. We need to build offtake agreements, which we have the skills, we have the tools to do that, and we need to execute the plan on being a game changer, which is going to happen. Now, if somebody wants to buy us, they can. The shareholders will have to decide if it's the right time or not. It has to produce product, and shareholders will be rewarded for that. So building the mine is number one.
Rick's right. I mean, there will be a mine here. It's so perfect, the setup. And whether it's Atlas or whether it's somebody else, that's to be determined. But now we have Rick on board. Atlas has all it needs to start building, planning and building this mine. So, to me, it's the way forward. I've always said that. I want to build a mine, and it's the right time to do it.
Yeah, and it's interesting because if people just think of this logically, if you have a plot of land, you'll get X amount of price for it. But if you all of a sudden you get that, maybe you get rezoned to residential, maybe you start putting in your plumbing, maybe you start putting in all the core aspects. Now what you're able to get for that, not the value skyrockets, and now you can start having a bidding war. But also it tells all the developers around you, I am going to build this, whether you like it or not. So then you got to come to the table or allow me to produce it. So I think it's a very similar analogy to what we were just speaking with here.
And let's not forget, for long-term investors, the salt business is a very, very fine cash cow, generating income for many, many years. So, the investors, it's long dollars that we're looking for, people who want to invest for the long term and get a good return on their money, put their money to work in a way that is generational. It's a great opportunity for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Rick, somewhat along the same lines here, it's interesting that your expertise is in private equity, and private equity is such a big part of the North American salt market. Cargill and Koch Industries are the two largest private companies in America, and Stoney Canyon is also private, and they've completed $5 billion in acquisitions in the last 3 years. What does it tell you that private equity is so dominant in the North American salt sector?
So I think what you're asking is, what do they know that their balance of people don't know? So it's
Exactly.
And you're right about private equity. I think it's genuinely accepted that they seem to be the smart money, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what I think it is. The salt market, and we'll use our situation for instance. 30 years of reserves at a minimum. We are going to be printing cash after year 2 for the life of the mine. It'll be generational. It's almost a dividend play. So private equity looks and sources for predictability. This is a predictable outcome. They can count every year. They have their graph. They know they'll be making X amount of money every year. It'll be up 3, 4, 5% every single year for the life of the assets. And that is very unusual in business. What businesses do not have that platform where they can predict what they're going to make every single year for the next 30 years. So let's talk about price taker, price maker, because I don't think people realize how important it is and why private equity always wants to be a price maker. A price taker, if we were producing gold or copper or nickel, the London Stock Exchange would tell us what we're getting paid. Price maker, which is what private equity likes, they don't like anybody telling them what they're going to get paid. They want to decide themselves what they're going to sell the product. And that's a unique situation in this industry. We are going to be a price maker of a high quality, high demand product with predictable projections over a long life. And that's why they are tripping over each other, trying to get into this market and stay in the market. And we're going to be enjoying all of those outcomes that they are currently enjoying. So.
Mm-hmm. I think, to Rick's point as well, this is a low risk. It's been de-risked to the greatest extent. Processing side, is so simple. The logistics side is, we've got the great port right there. So, before we even start building this thing, we know a lot of the risks have already been deferred.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fascinating, and I appreciate that a little bit there, Rowland and Rick, especially for your words as well there, because I think people are always wondering, if there is potential suitors. There's a lot of talk about, current salt producers, a lot of talk about majors. There's not enough talk about private equity, pension funds, and the people smart enough to understand that if they see this as a good fit, this is a cash cow, as you said, 30 years minimum. What private equity firm would not want that is pretty much what we were getting at there.
Yeah.
Now, speaking about more so the production of the mine, Rowland, how does your expertise of running the world's largest underground salt mine at Goderich come into play with discussions and plans on building this mine?
Well, I know what a good mine should look like. I've made mistakes. I've fixed other people's mistakes and, wished things could have been different. Now they can be. So, having a vision, we're now turning that dream into a reality by putting together a team that can actually build a mine, and one that's ready for the next century. I mean, it's going to be using state-of-the-art technology, as much environmentally friendly as it can be. Low surface footprint, all electric as to the greatest extent we can. So, I mean, just imagining what a perfect salt mine would look like, a salt factory we've talked about. This is something that I believe, with Rick's expertise and the team of people he can bring around him, that is where we'll be. That's what we'll deliver on. And, it's just something like we just Mum's talked about. It's going to be low cost. It's going to give us the opportunity to really leverage the marketplace.
And that's what makes this combination work. Rowland and I and the rest of the team. Rowland is a serial optimizer. He is remarkable at optimizing assets, processes, production, so on and so forth, and controlling costs and managing costs. On the other hand, I'm a serial builder and seller. So, and then the team we're bringing in are going to be augmenting all of those traits. They know how to deliver the goods on time. They are great at executing. So I'm really quite pleased with how far we've gotten at this very early stage.
Yeah, and you said something very unique there. We'll go more into that, I'm sure, in the future. You're just coming on and just getting announced here, but you said the team we're bringing on. I can imagine you already have a few individuals and maybe companies, wherever it be, in your mind thinking, okay, this is perfect. Have you already spoken to some people about that? Will we be hearing about that in the near future?
Yeah, actually, Rowland's met the team, the balance of the team. I believe they're all in place. We are finalizing details now, and every one of them have been involved in building dozens of mines on time, on budget, and every one of them have been involved in a multitude of M&A deliverables. So, yeah, we're there. That'll probably be one of my first announcements. And what's unusual here, and that's probably one of the reasons why Rowland and the board cited my way is someone like me can talk about this and say I'm going to bring in a team, and then 6 months later, I'm bringing in a team, and 6 months later I'm talking. This team's going to be in place in September. By the end of September, it's not 5 months, 6 months down the road. It's not a year down the road. And we need to hit the pavement running. This is a team that will do that. So yeah, I have a following, I guess. Rowland's already here, which is fantastic, and together we're going to deliver the goods, and we're going to create shareholder value. Much more, I have to say though, and Brandon, you posed a great question about M&A and selling it now. There's not much to sell now. We got to build a mine. It's like, and you use the analogy about real estate. Trying to sell a house that's not built and it's just an idea is much more difficult than selling a house that's built that people can see and it's real. And that's when you get premium valuation. Ideas are just ideas, and we all think we all get paid for that. We don't. We get paid for building things, tangible things that we can touch. So,
I just want to underscore what Rick said there about the team he's bringing together. I mean, successful people bring successful people on board, and they follow success. And this is what we're getting. This is Rick's credentials. He's been enormously successful in many ways, and this team, they want to see that success again. So, it really is a prime setup here.
Yeah, and I think it's great for investors to have a firm understanding of the path forward, which we're very much discussing right now, and a realization of how to get the greatest amount of value as a shareholder, and what does that pathway look like. I think that's something that people have been very curious over the last 6 to 12 months, and they're starting to get those answers and starting having an understanding of, you just wait. It's happening. So I love to hear that. Now, for all these things to happen, obviously there needs to be funds. There needs to be a way to be able to do all of this. The highly anticipated Bankable Feasibility Study is just around the corner. How will this build upon the previously announced PEA with a pre-tax NPV of $909 million? And what will this BFS equip and enable you to do in terms of financing and potential M&A discussions?
Sure. The PS, or the FS, is a blueprint. It's not a sketch. A PEA, the best way to describe it is it's a rough sketch. It's a good sketch. It's an educated sketch, but it's not a blueprint. And I know SLR. I've seen some of their output. These people do a good job, and this is a comprehensive feasibility study that they looked at the marketing, the logistics, the cost. All the equipment's been priced out. They have de-risked it beyond your yin yangs, and I believe the FS is going to be a surprise, even at the current production of 2.5 million tons, which leads to what's next. And it's not 3 years away. It's we're going to do a scoping study also, piggyback on EFS for 4 million tons. This mine that's been priced out through the PEA or the FS is 2.5. It doesn't really make sense that we try to produce 2.5 at full production when we've just said that that the imports are 6 times more, which we can easily displace. Not easily, but we can displace it. We can be focused on displacing. Ideally, this should be a 4 million ton mine. It's designed, it's priced as such, and watch and see. You'll be surprised with the FS that's going to come out, and you're going to be really pleasantly surprised when we do the scoping study and we augment the FS to 4 million tons. It'll be surprising. And I think that's the platform where we talk to the investors, to the bankers, to the financiers, and this opportunity they will recognize does not come often for an asset that will produce at an absolute minimum of 30 years. I don't see. There's going to be some headwind, but it's going to be a lot less than a lot of other opportunities out there that people are trying to get past the finish line.
Yeah, fascinating to hear. And thank you for going into that, going a little bit more in depth in that, because it's exactly what investors are curious about. You know, what will this mine be built upon, and what do you see that tonnage beginning at, and obviously the ability of scaling up should that present itself as well. Well, up until now, Atlas Salt has been known as a small cap junior explorer. Rick, how does this narrative begin changing into positioning Atlas as a world-class blue chip company in the making? How are you going to create and build shareholder value from here? We spoke about a lot, of course, already.
It's all about execution. There's been a lot of talk and good talk. There's been some excitement around the asset and the opportunity, and I think that's all great. And that's how come we're all here today. But it's go time. We have to execute. We have to, build the declines. We have to start building, and we have to start talking with our client base, and start to negotiate offtake agreements. The beauty with this asset versus almost every other asset, salt is unique. We keep on using that word, so I'm going to keep on using it because I think it truly is. It's not going to take 12 years to build a mine. Hard rock mines is 12 to 15 years. This is nothing like that. We don't have a tailings pond. We don't put out toxic waste. This is all natural material. Mother Nature has plunked an underground warehouse for us full of high quality salt. We just got to go and grab it, bring it to surface, sell it, and get paid. I'm simplifying it, but that's it. So we have to execute the plan, and it starts with, I wish I could say there's a deal around the corner and there's going to be probably there will be none though, unless we build the mine. So.
Fair enough, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate the honesty, and I appreciate the very clear direction that Atlas Salt is now taking. It's been a great direction up to this point, but I think now people are really starting to see that picture. You've got the team put together with yourself and with Rowland, with your board, and all the team that you bring together as well. Very excited for the road ahead. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it very much, and I look forward to being able to speak with you again soon, because that means we are talking about development worth bringing up to investors' attention. So thanks again, gentlemen.
Thanks, Brandon.
Well done.